Hello YouTube, this is Casual Carry for another update of Hail the King. This is going to be chapter number 3. There is no changes to the channel so far. Chapter number 3. Don't ever do that. Ah! Angela screamed as the flames grew in Gil's hand. She frantically looked for a way to stop him. However, it was all useless. Shit! Faye couldn't do anything else but try to block it with the helmet he was holding in his hand. Boom! The fireball collided with the helmet, producing a burst of sparks and smoke. The helmet had turned red hot and splattered as it started to melt. Faye smelled burned flesh. He rushed as he tried to get the melting metal helmet off his hand. Although he acted as fast as he could, the layer of skin on his inner palm had burned off already. The fireball appeared to have run out of energy, fizzing, and finally became extinguished. Faye didn't have time to relax as he immediately saw another fireball forming upon Gil's hand. Judging from Gil's sweaty face, it was obvious that he was concentrating extremely hard to finish Faye off with this one. This time, Faye had nothing to block it with. "This is not fair," Faye yelled. "I challenge you to a wrestling match. Didn't your parents teach you that kids playing with fire will pee their pants?" "What?" Angela and Emma were shocked, speechless. Since was there such a saying? "Looks like Alexander is still an idiot," both of them thought disappointedly. However, what they didn't notice was that Faye had slowly moved to the other side of the bed and managed to pick up the caress that he wore on the walls. He hid it behind his back as he slowly inched his way back towards Gil. "Just wait. Once you get in my reach, I will teach you a lesson in place of your parents." Faye calculated the distance between them and was preparing to use some sneaky and dirty tactics to deal with Gil. "But pee your own motherfucking pants." Gil was furious. He was not going to hold back his wrath of a prestigious mage. He made up his mind to punish the retard king for what he did. The second fireball was flung towards Faye. Angela reacted fast. Although she was scared that her face paled, she made up her mind to save Faye by blocking the fireball with her body. Seeing Angela suddenly appear in front of Faye, Gil went to shock and tried to retrieve his fireball. However, it was already too late. Faye reacted immediately. "Shit!" Without thinking, Faye grabbed Angela's shoulder and pressed her against his chest as he turned his body around. He felt the heat scorch across his back. "Shit! I'm gonna die!" At that very moment, pooh! A big hand appeared out of nowhere and grabbed the fireball. It gave it a light squeeze, completely indifferent to the extreme heat radiating off it. Faye watched with wide eyes as the fireball that could melt a metal helmet collapsed like an ice cream in a hot summer day. Hope was restored to Faye as he let go of Angela. "A master?" he thought. At the same time, Gil's face froze. He stared at the man who had appeared in the palace, his face turning paler than flour, and his body started to shake uncontrollably. Like a mouse that saw a cat, Gil was so scared that his voice turned into a completely different tone. "Mr. Lampard, why are you here?" Gil started sweating like crazy as he tried to explain himself. This Mr. Lampard didn't even look at Gil. He turned around and slightly bowed to Angela respectfully and then looked at Faye coldly and said, "Alexander, your Majesty?" Faye took a detailed look at this master. In front of him stood a handsome 6'5" Caucasian man with hair so red and vivid it looked like a mane of burning fire. What stood out the most was the huge 5-foot-long sword he was carrying on his back. It was as black as coal and looked to weigh about 200 pounds. A thing that confused Faye was that although this master was strong, his face was a bit pale. Faye guessed that he may have been injured in the siege. Faye also felt strange. Lampard saved him, but he wasn't very friendly towards him. Faye sensed a little bit of sadness and hopelessness in his stares. Faye didn't know who he really was, so he just nodded in response. "Mr. Lampard, can I go now?" Gil was extremely scared. Lampard didn't even look at him. "Go? Aren't you going to explain your offensive behavior towards the king?" "Oh, explain? Well, I was only joking. Yeah, joking. I had grown up with him, right? I just didn't control my magic properly. I'm only a novice mage, not even a star rank." Gil quickly found an excuse. He was BSing so fluently he almost believed in what he was saying. As he was spewing out excuses, he sense a cold stare as sharp as a blade on his neck from Lampard. He knew that this man could kill him as easily as an ant. He was scared to continue to say anything, so he shut himself up and sheepishly smiled. Lampard had a disgusted look on his face. He closed his hand, and everyone in the palace felt an invisible pressure. but Lampert's face showed that he had thought of something. He hesitated a bit, then opened his palm again, and the pressure was gone. "Get out of here! There's no next time," Lampert said as he was shooing away a fly. "Okay, okay, okay." Gil was relieved like a prisoner who had received death penalty just got a pardon. He exhaled rapidly and bowed down to the tall man carrying the sword. "Wait!" Just as Gil was preparing to leave this place, Faye suddenly stopped him. Gil looked at Lampert, but the old man didn't say anything. He had to stop and listen to what Faye said. Faye gave his wild smile. He got closer and closer to Gil. He casually put his hand onto Gil's shoulder. Everyone thought the king was going to say something to comfort Gil because of his friendliness. However, he didn't say anything. He started to slap Gil on the face like crazy. "Don't ever do that again! Don't ever fucking do that again!" He kept on yelling as he was slapping. Puh, 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 puh. The sound of slaps almost formed a symphony. Faye's action sent Angela and Emma into shock once more. The cold-faced Lampert was surprised by this as well. Is this brutal and crazy man the king? Is this really the idiot King Alexander? Poor Gil didn't know what to do. The appearance of Lampert had scared him, not using his abilities, and now he was afraid to even defend himself against Faye's assault. Gil regretted what he did to Faye as gets his revenge. If I knew Alexander became this shameless after being shot by an arrow, I'd never have come here, he cried in his mind. Faye finally stopped his hand as his hand became numb. Gil thought his nightmare was over. He stopped sniveling like a bitch. Who knew that Faye rubbed his hands and kicked Gil right in the nether regions? He screamed in pain. His body quickly reacted by mimicking a fried shrimp. He bent his back and started to desperately crawl out of the palace as if he was escaping hell. He had finally learned his lesson and didn't want ever to see this insane king ever again. "You got lucky this time," Faye yelled at Gil. He was a simple man. He was not going to take any sort of humiliation and act like nothing happened. He wanted revenge on the spot. After releasing his anger on Gil, he felt much better. As Faye turned around, he saw the shocked expressions on Angela, Emma, and Lampert's face. They were staring at him as if he was some unknown monster. "Shit, did I overreact?" Faye thought. "Oh, my head is dizzy. I'm fainting." He fell onto the floor. Angela and Emma, who still had a hand mark on her face, got nervous. They thought the arrow injury was reoccurring again. They dragged him to the bed. Faye looked at Faye. He was suspicious of Faye's terrible acting, but he didn't say anything. He asked Angela about Faye's arrow injury, comforted both Angela and Emma a little, and left with a ton of questions on his mind. "By Majesty, the enemies are still sieging. Looks like your soldiers can't defend any longer." This is the last thing Lampert said before he left. Angela and Emma stood by him for a while. After seeing no sign of Faye waking up, Angela took Emma to the priest to get her face treated. After only Faye was left in the palace, he calmed down and started to think about the whole situation. Obviously, he was in another universe. Not only Angela and Emma, but that meatball-shaped magician's magic had the mysterious old master's powerful skills had proven it. Faye was a poor graduate student. He grew up in an orphanage, and he was in a hopeless situation because he had incurred a lot of debt for university, but couldn't find a job to pay it off. After thinking about it, Faye concluded that becoming the king in another universe was not a bad thing. As a king, I probably can do anything I want, he thought. He couldn't wait to use his powers. He started to map his situation. Looks like on my way back to my apartment, I was hit by a bright disc of some sort. I probably died on the spot, but somehow my soul came to this universe and possessed the body of this Alexander. From what has happened, Faye pieced together that this young king only had the intelligence of a 3-year-old. He didn't know what had happened to the last king, but the throne was taken by this Alexander. Obviously, all the ministers were opposed to this young king. Faye remembered getting shot by an arrow and then waking up in this bed. Probably by the time on the wall, my soul had just gained possession of this body. I'm not sure where the original Alex went, but I'm the new Alexander now. The original Alexander, the king, was really an idiot. Faye possessed his body and for sure took over his memories as well. All he got was the basic information, such as the language spoken in this kingdom, and some simple hobbies that the previous tenant of this body had. Other than that, Faye had no idea how big this kingdom was and how everything else worked. He only knew Angela, his fiancée, after he woke up in this world for the first time, and had no recollection of Gil and Lampert. Thank God this guy was dumb. From now on, when I mimic him, no one can tell that I'm someone different. Faye touched his chin and nodded. But suddenly he remembered something else. Before Lampert left, he mentioned something about enemies sieging the castle and that the soldiers can't defend any longer. Damn it! Faye almost jumped out of the bed. Am I going to be a slave right after I became the king? The pressure of survival and reality scared Faye. Maybe I should pack up and sneak out of here. Oh, shit! How can I sneak out when the enemies have already surrounded the castle? Can Master Lampert kill them? Wait, he's just one man. How can he face off an army? Plus, the enemies probably have masters too. Faye had no idea how he was going to get out of this situation. When he was on Earth, he was just a student. He had no talent in military nor in fighting. The best he could do was handle a drunk dude at the bar. If he wanted to lead an army, he doesn't have enough strength to wear full metal armor. Faye was furious. Why can't I just live my ordinary life on Earth? I don't want to be a king anymore. At that moment, collecting players' information. 20%, 50%, 88%, 100%. Game system installation initiated. Scanning brain capacity. Requirement met. Install. A mysterious mechanical sounding voice appeared out of nowhere. It scared Faye almost to death. This voice appeared directly in his mind. Shit, what is this? Ghost? He got no replies. Install complete. Entering Diablo world. In 3, 2, 1, enter. Like the characters in the TV series Stargate who travel through the Stargate, Faye felt dizzy as a mysterious and strange wave went through his body. Rogue encampment. Faye stood like a zombie at the rogue encampment where the new players spawned in the game Diablo. His mind was blank. He had been standing here for the last 5 minutes. 5 minutes ago, after the 30-second countdown in his mind by the voice, his vision blurred and he landed here. This was a real Diablo world? A perfect and lively world? This was the conclusion came to after 5 minutes. The sky was dark and the rain was pouring down. An unknown dark green pyrolite had grown all over the ground. Dark soil appeared farther away. The camp was empty. Cluck, cluck, cluck. Only a few hungry hens were seeking food in the rain. A cold breeze blew through Faye, and he shook in the cold. The vivid sensation from every nerve in his body reminded him that this was real. This was a real world, not a stiff 2D computerized screen. And that's it for the chapter, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and more importantly, have fun reading and listening to these stories. If you'd like any of your favorite web novels or fan fiction turned into an audiobook, just let us know below in the comment section. See you guys next time, and thanks for watching.